Hello everyone, and thank you for coming back to yet another episode of The Gloving Paradigm. I am your host, Peter, aka LPD8 Dubuque, and this week should be a really fun week for me, just because I've been just doing my normal thing and hanging out on the Discord chats and hanging out with a lot of the members of the community and things of that nature. And there was one kind of topic that I brought up a while back that no one really talked about on Facebook and whatnot, but you know, people were actually more than willing to talk to me on Discord chat about it, but that's totally fine, you know, to each his own, you know, that's how you find information sometimes in the community, is that you just have to interact with everybody in order to find it. So, what this week I'm going to be pretty much doing is just kind of covering an old idea that kind of comes and goes within the community. And I'm not saying that in terms of like it's a bad thing or it's a good thing. It's just something that, you know, somebody is like me who's been in this community for over 10 years now. You know, you've observed things for a long time and you just notice some trends. And one particular trend that kind of confuses me from time to time tends to not show up as often, but when it does, it's very short-lived, and I don't understand why necessarily it is this way, but this is where we come to. This is how we end up to this point, and you know, this is how things like this can start happening, is when somebody just starts talking about it. So what am I going to be covering is basically the idea of palm lights. NANI? Basically. And the reason why I want to cover palm lights in its own separate episode is because it's such a curious case within the community, in my opinion, and it's just so interesting how it's revered within the community in one way or another, I should say. So, if you don't know what a palm light is, which is surprising considering that if you've been doing this for at least a week, you should have some kind of idea of what a palm light is. But for those who don't know, a palm light is basically any micro light that you stick in your palm of your glove to act as a palm light. Oh, good for you! Now, why would somebody go about using palm lights? Well, palm lights add a very nice little indicative feature to the show altogether. You know, it's somebody like me who likes to invert their thumbs, therefore their thumbs can act as a palm light. To me, that's not where it's necessary. If you're somebody who likes to have their thumbs pointing forward and not inverted like I always do, if you always have the standard thumbs pointing forward, palm lights is where it's actually going to add an extra little feature. So it would seem. And the main reason is because, just from my experience, if you have inverted thumbs and then you try to put palm lights into it, it just kind of gets a little messy in terms of, you know, what you're trying to do with these lights, especially with your inverted thumbs, because your inverted thumbs are pointing towards the palm lights and your palm lights are trying to make their own statement of being illuminated. Therefore, it's kind of like conflicting itself, if that makes any sense. Hopefully. Sometimes I feel like I'm just not making any sense half the time, but it tends to be when you're a content creator. Anyways, one of the things I definitely want to explain when it comes to using palm lights is that it does bring this level of intricacy, in my opinion. And the main reason is because we've had so many advancements with our lights now, especially with the accelerometer feature, that I would think there would be a little bit more 2,000 years later tinkering within this field when it comes to palm lights. And the main reason why I say that is because we've had so many advancements in our lights in general that you would think that somebody would at least, you know, attempt something like this, therefore, you know, allowing the audience and the community itself to actually be able to have something like this provided. So when it comes to palm lights, it can be very simple and it can be very complex at the same time. What makes it so simple is that most people just use a single color, whether it be blue or red or whatever tends to blend with the motif that they're going with their glove sets. You know, some people might not take that into consideration or think that that's absolutely necessary. I will certainly say to you, yes, when you are incorporating palm lights into your set, you do have to kind of go along with the themes and the motifs that you're going with your glove sets. Not everybody thinks like that when it comes to their glove sets like I do, because I'm a crazy idiot who thinks adding more and more colors to the glove sets is a good idea, and having different setups on each individual light is a good idea. Why on earth do I do this? It's because I'm crazy.
Do you ever look at someone and wonder what is going on inside their head?
But yeah, when it comes to palm lights, though, most people just don't understand like what you can do with a palm light that would elevate your show. First of all, if you watch any of Gummy's shows in his early days, like 2010 to 2014, maybe 16, kind of pushing it, but I want to say around like 2010 to 2014 is usually where you're going to find a lot of his videos with this. He's done plenty of palm lights in his shows, and to me, he's a very good way to exemplify what is capable of a palm light and what it's able to do. Now, there was this one video that it was either OMG Lights or LiquidEmotions.com. One of them had it, and they had a special palm light that they actually designed, where it was actually kind of, the lack of a better description, it looked like a pill, and I mean like a pretty long pill that made it pretty easy to change it, and it had like 6 different modes. It was a classic RGB setup, all that stuff, and it was just No,
God, please, no! It
was really interesting to see that, because it allowed 2 light bulbs to be operated. It allowed for bigger surface area to be illuminated on your palms, and I just remember the person only had those in their gloves and just had regular gloves on and was giving a show to somebody, and oh my god, the camera was so good on picking up on how just moving his fingers around like did the whole trailing of the colors between red, green, and blue, and it was beautiful. So when it comes to palm lights, in trying to understand like what they are going to do and what they're going to accomplish, is you gotta work with them on their own. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean, you don't have any of your other lights on when you go to test and tinker around with your palm lights, because you're taking in consideration what the surface area is going to be illuminated and how that's going to look. Not only that, you're also trying to figure out like, the color scheme, and does the color scheme work really well? Does it blend with everything? Not only that, is that once you got your palm light in there and you're moving it around, is it doing the thing that you want it to do? Is it showing up all the other colors as you move around? Are you getting a nice trailing effect of your, with the shapes of your hands? If you're not, you might want to adjust how you're operating it. Now, that could be from anything. That could be from your tint control / true brightness control. That could even be what kind of flash pattern you're using, because certain flash patterns are just naturally brighter than others. Case in point, Dops versus Hyperstrobe. You have these different things that you're able to use, and that's something you have to take in consideration when it comes to your palm lights, because, like I said, you bring out this illusion of colors when it comes to your palm lights. Now, one thing I definitely want to talk about, and I find so interesting, considering where we are now in the current state of the gloving community, is that we have accelerometers and the accelerometer features that are able to be utilized. And I know some people probably would tell me that using an Excel chip or a modular chip, as I like to refer to them, would be kind of impractical as a palm light. And to that I say, I disagree.
I don't know, man.
Why do I disagree on that? It's quite simple, because if you're sitting there thinking, oh well, it's not going to pick up a lot of speed and be able to be manipulated in a fashion that allows you to utilize that, I think that's a damnable lie, and you should know that. Now, the thing that people need to understand when it comes to accelerometers in terms of palm lights is that you can manipulate the settings of your accelerometer to be to your advantage when it comes to your palm lights. Now, here's an example that I have been taking around with the idea of using an accelerometer light as a palm light, is that like how teleporting has, where you can either have it where your idle's turned off, or when you go to move, it turns off. In this particular case, when it comes to a palm light, what I like when it comes to an accelerometer feature, if you do the teleporting setup where when you go to move, it turns off the light. Now, why would I want this to be set up that way? Well, it's very simple. As I'm moving around, I'm doing my whips and flails and doing all my dynamic moves. The lights are turned off, and then once I actually get to a point where I put both my hands in front of my viewer in the audience and stop my hands from moving, all of a sudden my palm lights turn on, allowing me to have this effect of just hit you in the face with lights. You know what I mean?
Yeah, get into it.
So a very basic, very simple, easy to follow idea when it comes to utilizing accelerometers inside of a palm light. One major thing that I know a lot of people are probably going to point out, and I get it, I totally get it, is that they don't have anything to keep their lights in place when it comes to palm lights. And I totally get it, because I'm one of those people who have, the concave palms where you can literally, and you put on gloves and you stick anything inside the palms, it's going to start moving around because you just have all that space in between the glove and your actual palm. Totally get that. I will certainly say with the advancement in terms of the casing, that probably shouldn't be as much of a problem now, just because a lot of these silicone casings really are really good at keeping the lights in place. At least from my experience. I don't know for everybody, but I'm just saying from my own personal experience, when it comes to silicone casings, they've been working really well on keeping things in place. Now, when it comes to products for palm lights, yes, we are not have a whole lot going for us, but that could also change. And it's not like something that each company has to make up their own. Like a third party person can do this and come up with this and be a very simple and amazing solution. Now, of course, using the same material as the casings that we use for our lights now, which is mostly silicone, this can also be achieved when it comes to making a palm light product. If you guys know, there's those little things that you can put around your hand. They wrap around your hand and have these little things on them that usually test your pulse and things like that. It's basically that idea. It's kind of like this strap that, in my opinion, you can make it out of pure silicone if you want. It's probably really expensive, but just kind of follow me on this. And basically, the silicone casing that wraps around your hand will be thin enough that it doesn't cause any protrusion, but the part where it sits in the palm, you'll actually have a little slot where you can put any chip, not just a specific chip like a FL chip or an EL chip or a KK or throw lights or whatever the case may be. I would like it to actually be accommodated for any chip, not just like a specific company chip. Now, granted, if a specific company came up with this product, I would totally get it when they set it up where only their chips sit in it, not everybody else's, because they want you to buy their product, blah, blah, blah. We all know how corporate America works.
And the Sand Guardian, Guardian of the Sand. Poseidon quivers before him.
But the reason why I say that this would also really help elevate the palm light game is because, one, it kind of solves that problem where a lot of people are like, well, I don't have anything to keep my lights in place. This will allow you to keep lights in place. Not only that this casing wrap, slip thing, I don't even know what to call it. I just want to call it a palm light strap. It doesn't even have to be on the inside of your glove. You can actually have it on the outside of your glove since it wraps around your hand and you don't have to worry about it moving. Not only that, it also keeps your glove in place as well, which would be a nice added bonus for somebody like me who uses a lot of heavy diffusers that make the lights go heavy and swing right off your fingers and hit somebody in the face. And then you have to explain to them that that was not your intention, and awkwardness ensues.
It's time to duel!
Anyways, this idea that I have, this product that I've had in my head for a while, is that it wraps around your hand. It allows for proper light diffusion, so it allows it to make it look really, really big inside the palm. And not only that, it just makes it a lot easier to keep the light in place. It, again, makes the surface area of the palm light much better. And the diffusion is probably going to look way better, because I don't know if you guys actually looked at people who use palm lights, but sometimes the directional diffusion of their lights is just maddening to me. And now I understand that as a personal preference matter for myself, but it's just one of the things that it kind of just gets on my nerves after a while. I don't know why. But this little strap wrap product thing that I have in my head, it wouldn't only be just for palms. People like putting the lights above their hands. That was a very common thing way back in the day, and I kind of wish we would still do that because it was awesome, especially when you did certain moves. So what this will also provide is just ways to actually incorporate more lights and be able to incorporate usage of more lights in less conventional areas, because we all kind of focus on just keeping them on our fingers when we have other parts of our body that we can incorporate into the show that works just as well. Again, palm lights is a great place to start. And in my opinion, I would like to actually see palm light utilization more often. Now, if you're somebody like me who, let's just say, for example, if you have Adams and you're like, you know what, I want to use Adams with palm lights. My recommendation is, especially if you're using the accelerometer feature, is to actually put it up in your glove in between your ring and middle finger. The main reason is because you're putting it in a spot where it should keep it in place. Not only that, you're putting it in what I think would be a better place to be able to utilize the accelerometer feature, because it is based on movement. And if you think about it, if you just twist your hand back and forth, if you have your light close to the wrist, it's not getting that much movement. If you have it closer towards your fingers, you're getting a lot more different movement in terms of velocity, so therefore you would want that.
You what?
Now, I know it's probably going to feel a little weird at first, and I would definitely understand why it would feel weird. It's one of the things that you're just going to have to kind of adjust to, like most of the time when it comes to learning new concepts, and then you put on the gloves and it doesn't really come out as clean. It's because you haven't taken the time to adjust to all the different nuances of your gloves. And I'm not saying like that's some feng shui thing. It's a common thing. It's just like if I ran barefoot for miles on end and practiced only barefoot and then put on a pair of shoes, yeah, it's gonna be really weird because I didn't study and practice with shoes on. Like, you know, think about it.
How about no, you fucking raisin?
Anyways, yep, so I pretty much want to say that's all for my episode. It's just an idea, you know, when it comes to utilizing palm lights, you know, it's a very tricky thing. It's a very complex thing in itself. But I wanted to open the floor of discussion about utilizing palm lights more often, because to me, it's not like it's a bygone era thing that, you know, glovers don't do anymore. That's a damnable lie, and I know it.
Stop it. Get some help.
I just want to see more of it. I want to see more of a discussion of people actually talking about it and trying to utilize palm lights in a fashion, especially if you're somebody like a conjurer. Conjuring and palm lights is actually a really effective thing, because all they're going to see is you changing your fingers and stuff, and they're going to be like, okay, now I know what you're doing. And then you come in there with palm lights out of nowhere, they're just going to be completely taken by surprise. And that is a good thing when it comes to gloving, because you want to take your audience by surprise.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
But yes, that is all for my episode. I'd like to thank everybody who's listened to this podcast so far and who's liked the page and has shown their support. You guys are absolutely amazing. If you have any questions, though, that I did not cover in this episode, you do have the various social media outlets you can hit me up at. Of course, I do have a Facebook page, which is aptly named The Gloving Paradigm. You can always hit me up there. I do have an email, which is muttonchopguy@gmail.com. I am also on Reddit under the username muttonchopguy, so if you want to hit me up there, you can hit me up there as well. I've been on there pretty often, so do not hesitate to, message me there. Of course, I do have my own Discord server, which you can go on, which will be linked in this episode's description below. Do not hesitate to go on there. I do hang out there quite a bit as well. The other thing I definitely want to let you guys know is that, yes, I do have an Instagram. You can definitely follow me on that, which it will be linked in this episode's description down below as well, along with my YouTube channel, which I'm still trying to get working on those backlogging, but goddamn is work and everything being a little crazy this past couple of weeks. Woo, baby. But hopefully soon we'll actually get back into the swing of things, and things will start smoothing out. Of course, as a final thing, if you like the content that I create and you wish to help me make better content, please do consider of contributing and donating to me on Patreon. As little as $1 a month, you will be helping this channel and keeping it going, keeping the lights on, and also helping me make better content. And of course, you have the $1 tier, you also have the $3 tier. If we get to my first goal of $1,000 a month, I'll actually be able to open up the next tier, which allows me to give giveaways. Allows me to do the giveaways that I want to do. And if we get to that point, then it's going to be a lot more fun for everybody, because then people are going to be getting a lot more stuff back. So please do consider hitting me up on Patreon. Please follow me on all the various social media outlets I have down in the description below. Thank you so much for everybody who's been showing support to this podcast so far. It means the absolute world to me, and not only to me, but to my late friend Sebastian, who is the reason why this podcast started in the first place. So I'd like to thank everybody. Thank you so much. I absolutely love you guys, but I am your host, Peter, aka LPD8 Dubuque, and I'll see you guys all next week.